One of the many highlights of graduation ceremonies is the graduation address. The graduation address gives us the opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community, and we are fortunate today that the address will be delivered by Professor Erwin Loh. Professor Loh is an experienced medical practitioner, qualified in both medicine and law, and is currently the National Chief Medical Officer and Group General Manager, Clinical Governance for St Vincent's Health Australia. Professor Loh has had an extensive career as a full-time lawyer with a focus on health law and medico-legal matters, and also in the health services industry with positions at Monash Health and the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. Professor Loh is an adjunct clinical professor at Monash, where he leads the Clinical Leadership and Management Unit at the Monash Centre for Health Research and Implementation. I now have much pleasure in inviting Professor Erwin Loh to deliver the graduation address.
Thank you. I wasn't sure which side to go on, and I decided I'll pick the closest side, because this is my better side anyway for the camera. So what an honor it is to be here with all of you on this very special day. My name is Erwin Loh, and I'm feeling really proud and privileged to be giving you this graduation address this afternoon. I want to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we're meeting today, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nations. I want to acknowledge they've occupied and cared for these lands over countless generations, and we celebrate together their continuing contributions to the lives of these regions. So well. Today is the day that all those blood, sweat, and tears have finally come to fruition. You've now got your degrees. The day that you've been dreaming of, the finishing line that you've had your eye on through the many hours and days and years of study and perseverance, it is here at last. Even as you take a breath of relief and you start planning to take a well-deserved break, you're going to know this. As the cliche goes, and it is the cliche, you've heard this many times, today is the first day of the rest of your life. The reality is, graduation is clearly not the end. It is merely the beginning. Rehearsal is over, folks. The opening night is here, and the real show is about to begin. After all, life is not about the final destination, but about the journey that you get to take there. I am a prime example of this. As you've heard in the introduction, I actually graduated from the University of Melbourne Medical School 25 years ago. So at this very point, all of you are wondering, why is this guy speaking to us if he's from a competitor? I want to segue now into a relevant personal story. When I tell it to my 3 daughters, I title it How I Met Your Mother. So I was single. I was a 5th-year medical student minding my own business. I was at a church event, and the pastor introduced me to this new girl. She had long, frizzy hair. She had large, round glasses. Her hair was almost like an afro. It was very big. And she was a first-year medical student at Monash University. And right now you're thinking, that's the connection. Well, maybe. I told her I was a medical student as well. And she asked, where? And I said, Melbourne Uni. And her response was, Melbourne Uni? Blah! This is a true story, not an exaggeration. And by the way, a lot of you might have had that, I'm sure you've had the same experience talking to people from Melbourne Uni, right? No? Maybe. So, look, my wife, she doesn't know I've told you this story, so don't share this with her. We've just celebrated our 21st wedding anniversary. But she's not the only connection to Monash University that I have. Back to my story, when I was a junior doctor, I had an interest in psychiatry. I moved on to forensic psychiatry. That got me interested in law. And I actually ended up doing law at Monash University and graduating with an LLB. And you're saying, that's the Monash connection. Well, I was lucky enough to work then as a doctor before working as a lawyer. I worked in the area of health law and medical negligence, but I did find that I was missing being a doctor when I was working as a lawyer. So I went back to university, got an MBA and a Master's of Health Services Management, and that degree was actually from Monash University as well. So 2 degrees from Monash University. And by the way, with all the fees I've paid Monash, I'm glad they've invited me to come to do this, because I can send them a bill for the speech and get some money back. But I came back to the health system, and I was able to combine medicine, law, and my management background in my role. And I got an interest as well in academia, and I went back to do research and got my PhD. And because of all that, my friends call me a thermometer because I've got so many degrees. And I am the perfect speaker at a graduation ceremony because I've attended so many graduations for myself. I share with you all of this, not to humble brag, but to share with you 3 lessons that I've picked up along the way. Lesson number 1, you cannot predict the journey that your career, let alone your life, will take you. What you can choose to do is to enjoy the ride and not to be too rigid. My PhD thesis was looking at why doctors move from clinical practice to senior hospital management. And 100% of the people that I interviewed said that their journey was unplanned and opportunistic. So you need to be open and ready for opportunities that are unexpected. For me, I've never planned or imagined on the day I graduated that I would end up being a doctor who then moved to being a lawyer, and then now I'm a health executive. It wasn't planned, but opportunity knocked, and I answered. Lesson number 2, everything that you experience is a learning that is of value. I've learned through my different career paths that doctors think very different to lawyers. As an example, medicine is about science and objective facts, whereas law is based on humanities and is quite subjective, and there is a lot of arguments and interpretation. So, and both doctors and lawyers are then different to managers who think in a very different strategic and long-term way, and then they are different to academics, as you know now, you've dealt with academics. But all these different mental logic models help me in what I do today. Nothing that I've gone through is a waste of time. So in your journey, you will go through different experiences, some good and some bad. When you encounter positive experience, you learn from those, right? Never waste a good lesson. But when you go through bad experiences, you can learn from those too. You will work with great people, but you also work with people who are not so great. What you do is you learn from the great ones, and you learn what not to do from those who are not that great. In life, you never stop learning. In life, you actually don't graduate until that final day. And hopefully on the day when you graduate from life, you don't have to sit through a boring speech like this. Last but not least, lesson number 3. You have to decide very early on your own personal values. And you have to then not compromise on them. You need to have a strong moral foundation so that no matter how the wind blows, just like the tree with deep roots, you're not going to be moved. You need to understand your own boundaries. By doing that, you know which door that are open that you need to walk through and which door that you need to shut. You need to know your true north so that no matter what path or direction you take, you're never going to be lost. For me, I get a lot of job offers all the time, some with really good incentives. But I don't take up those offers. The main reason why I'm working for St. Vincent's Health is because of the organization's mission, which is to bring God's love to those in need with the healing ministry of Jesus, especially those who are poor and vulnerable. Now, that mission is very much aligned to my own personal values, so that when I go to work, I don't actually feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world. As Mark Twain said, find a job you enjoy doing, and you will never have to work a day in your life. So look, I'm going to wrap up now. I hope that those 3 lessons will help you to move forward. I want to thank you for listening, and go and make a difference.
So, Erwin, thank you for the speech. Thank you for sharing about the importance of journeys both personal and professional. The graduation ceremonies are recorded, so the story could get back home. And it can't be captioned how I met your mother, because I think someone else has already captured the intellectual property rights to that idea. But a speech about journeys is never boring, and Erwin's speech has spoken to the importance of making choices. You're all in a really fortunate position as graduates. You're going to have a lot of choices available to you. As Erwin has said in his speech, think about the choices you make, think about where you work, and be authentic to the values that you want to have. And don't listen to too many boring speeches, but you didn't listen to one there. So please join me in thanking Erwin.